In this step, we're going to look at two views of academic freedom, the traditional view and a contemporary or socially engaged view. Both of these views are rooted in the history discussed in earlier steps. The traditional view is rooted in the 19th and early 20th century history of the university and academic freedom. The contemporary or socially engaged view is rooted more in the late 20th century and early 21st century history of the university. Both are grounded in international standards, including especially the UNESCO recommendation of 1997, which encapsulates all of the core higher education values. Now, the traditional view. It's rooted in the German Humboldtian tradition, and that later evolved in the United States AAUP tradition of academic freedom. It focuses on the university space, the physical university, classrooms and laboratories, journals, and the dialogue and discourse between professors and students in those spaces. It treats expression outside of these spaces as not academic, and therefore outside of the protection of academic freedom. The traditional view seeks clear boundaries, intending them to be easier to defend. But we'll have to ask ourselves if that's true. There are several challenges or critiques to this traditional view. The first is that it's an oversimplification of what academic activity looks like today. If we think about schools of law and journalism, public administration and social work, all of these have very active engagement outside the walls of the campus. And surely those works are being protected by academic freedom as well. The second critique of the traditional view is that it offers a false security bargain. Defenders of academic freedom who support the traditional view seem to think that if we draw clearer boundaries around what is protected by academic freedom, those boundaries will be easier to defend. But history offers very little support for this. In fact, history offers a lot of evidence that every attempt to artificially draw a limit on intellectual inquiry, especially when that limit is drawn from outside the university space, it not only doesn't increase academic freedom, it shrinks academic freedom and the security of the university. The third and final critique of the traditional view is that it's an abdication of that other core value we care about, social responsibility. Remember, we said social responsibility is the responsibility of members of the higher education space to use their academic freedom and their institutional autonomy for the benefit of society. So those who are critics of the traditional view say defining academic freedom and the role of the academic as within a certain set of walls and limits is an abdication of their obligation to work for society in an active, engaged way. So our second view is the contemporary or socially engaged view of academic freedom. This is a broader view than the traditional view. And it's not focused on drawing clear lines between academic and non-academic conduct or expression. Rather, the socially engaged view turns on whether or not the conduct or expression was carried out according to professional standards, as determined by other experts in that field. So this is a broader view, but still not all conduct would be covered. Conduct that isn't carried out according to professional standards wouldn't be covered by academic freedom under the contemporary view. Similarly, conduct that is violent or coercive still also would be outside of the definition of contemporary academic freedom, as well as outside of traditional academic freedom. Conduct that is partisan or ideological or dogmatic, or other forms of what might be called closed expression, which are marked by an unwillingness to be persuaded by new evidence or new information. These are also outside of the contemporary definition of academic freedom. In fact, if a line has to be drawn between what is or is not connected to academic freedom versus free expression, the contemporary view would draw the line there between open forms of expression that are open to persuasion and closed forms of expression that are not open to persuasion. Indeed, it's that willingness to be persuaded by new information and new evidence and discourse that is the hallmark of socially engaged academic freedom when it's carried out by professional standards. Openness to persuasion is really the heart of the university. So, what do you think? We've got two versions of academic freedom, two views, the traditional and the contemporary or socially engaged. Throughout this course, we will ask you to test your view against these two views and to decide which one you think you're most comfortable with, and share your comments about it in the comments section.